Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile found...
If you're from the Lone Star State, then you know that Davy Crockett is an important figure in Texas history. Although a native of Tennessee, Crockett left his home state after serving as a member of Congress when another individual was voted into his seat. This spawned his famous quote, "You all may go to hell, but I'm going to Texas." Although initially attracted to Texas by the allure of cheap land and natural resources, upon arriving, Crockett had many adventures which eventually led to him to advocate for Texas independence. He fought for the Texas Army in its quest to become its own nation free from the rule of Mexico, and Crockett famously died defending the Alamo. An avid outdoorsman, Crockett is mythologized for many of his skills as a woodsman, such as killing a bear with a knife when he was only 3 years old and wearing a coonskin cap. While some of these feats might be fantasies, there's plenty of evidence in Crockett's own journals and correspondence with friends and family that document his skill in the wild. One encounter that you may not know about is the time that Crockett allegedly came face to face with a Bigfoot. Upon traveling into the interior of Texas in what is close to the national forest that's named after him, Crockett wrote in a letter to his brother-in-law about an encounter he had with a creature that he described as the shape and shade of a large ape man. I want to now share with you the contents of Crockett's letter. William and I were pushing through some thicket, clearing the way when I sat down to mop my brow. I sat for a spell watching as Williams made his good and fine progress. I removed my boots and sat with my rations, thinking the afternoon a fine time to lunch. As the birds whistled and chirped, and I ate my small and meager ration, I tapped my axe upon the opposite end of a fallen tree I rested upon. The letter continues. Whether it was the axe's disturbance or possibly the heat of the sun which caused an apparition to slowly form in front of my eyes, I do not know. As a Christian man, I swear to you, Abe, that what spirit came upon me was the shape and shade of a large ape man, the likes we might expect among the more bellicose and hostile Indian tribes in the territories. The shade formed into the most deformed and ugly countenance, covered in wild hair, with small and needling eyes, large broken rows of teeth, and the height of 3 foundlings. I spit upon the ground the bread I was eating. Crockett continues. The monster then addressed a warning to me. Abner, it told me to return from Texas, to flee this fort, and to abandon this lost cause. When I began to question this, the creature spread upon the wind like the morning steam swirls off a frog pond. I swear to you, Abner, that whatever meat or sausage disagreed with me that afternoon, I swore off all beef and hog for a day or so afterward. Less than 6 months after the writing of this letter, Crockett was killed at the Alamo with approximately 190 others. Santa Anna's army swept north and east in an attempt to snuff out the Texas Revolution. That being the case, no clarification on the information in the letter was ever given. Most historians feel that the account in the letter was just an attempt by Crockett to entertain his brother-in-law. Some, however, feel differently. Many point to the fact that Crockett swore his account was true not once, but twice in the letter. They also point to how Crockett had insisted on changing the wording of the Oath of Allegiance as evidence that he took his honor seriously. The wording changed in the oath included the addition of the word Republican before the word government. That way, Crockett would have been obliged to defend a rogue government run by a non-elected dictator. It is this very change in the agreement that allowed Crockett to fight against Santa Anna with a clear conscience. Would Crockett have sworn the tale was true in writing if it didn't occur? Now, the entire matter of the creature apparition appearing and verbalizing a warning to Crockett is about as bizarre an incident as I've ever come across. Certainly the description of the creature given by Crockett matches the classic description of a wood ape or Sasquatch. The ugly countenance, covering of wild hair, and the small needling eyes described all sound familiar. So does the estimated height of 3 foundlings. Now, while there's no exact height of a foundling, a small abandoned child, most agree a safe estimate for this description would be somewhere between 7 and 8 feet. But that's where the similarities between Crockett's creature and credible modern Bigfoot accounts end. The claim of Crockett that the creature spoke to him and actually warned him to leave Texas is utterly unprecedented. I don't even know what to say about it. Crockett's description of how the apparition slowly formed and later disappeared like the morning steam off a frog pond makes the entire incident seem more likely to have been a lucid dream or hallucination of some kind. Again, it's all very strange. What did David Crockett see in the woods near Nacogdoches in 1836? The likelihood is that we will never know. Something telling, however, is how few people have heard of this account. So many of Crockett's feats and experiences have been trumpeted and blown up to mythic proportions through the years that it seems strange that this tale has fallen between the cracks and remains largely untold today. Having said that, though, maybe it isn't so strange after all. Americans like their heroes, especially those in the distant past, to be without blemish, perfect images chiseled into marble. These heroes, men like Crockett, are revered to this very day and held up as icons. The legacy of such a man might be tarnished if such a story leaked out and became well known. Better to dismiss the tale as nothing more than a bit of yarn spinning on the part of good old Davy, than to attempt to come to grips with the possibility that something genuinely strange happened in the deep woods of East Texas in 1836. Something very strange indeed. But still, there's something else here that deserves consideration. The creature we've come to call Bigfoot is undoubtedly a flesh and blood creature. After all, it leaves footprints, captures prey for food, and has been seen eating. There are even reports of the creature being injured and perhaps even killed by gunshots. However, none of this precludes the possibility of the existence of other types of beings, entities if you will, that have the ability to manifest and take on the likeness of a creature like Bigfoot. Such a being would have an etheric nature, appearing and vanishing at will, and perhaps even communicating telepathically. If Crockett's encounter is to be taken at face value, it is more likely that it was this type of being that he faced that day so long ago. Something to think about. Thank you for listening to the Shadowland radio show. To enjoy more paranormal and cryptid stories, visit blackwatermedia.net to listen to a vast archive of material. While there, consider becoming a Blackwater Media Swamp Hunter Society member and access all available premium content. You can also visit the Blackwater Media YouTube channel. While there, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Dr. William Lester, and I promise to see each and every one of you again on the flip side.